Good afternoon. It's approximately about 7 minutes after 4. It's actually April the 21st, and it snowed today, and everyone is really sort of depressed by it, all this, snow. So, I could shove this around. Is it the correct way? No. Is it? No, that way. Works better. I'm going to make this really, really short. I've had some problems with the computer, so if this works, then that's fine and okay. Um, I got talking to someone earlier, and I thought I'd throw this in because uh, it's an indicator what Canadians and North Americans and the world are like. Uh, We Canadians are not angels. If you think so, you're living on a different planet. And I've repetitively mentioned that the way we have treated natives has been appalling, and it just has been. I saw an example of this bigotry on my own. I saw it, just actually saw it. As I've mentioned in the past, my father was transferred from Vancouver to Toronto to Montreal. Now, in Montreal was like a world entirely different to me. Toronto was different too. You had two educational systems, and suddenly I was Catholic, and getting my the palms of my hands strapped by nuns. Who can figure that, you know? And anyway, ended up in Montreal, and it was divided then four areas, if I recall correctly. One was English speaking, a factor quarter, then a Protestant quarter. I believe there was Jewish quarter as well, and the fourth was Française. So I ended up, when in the lousiest joint in the whole place was the Catholic. No one asked me when I was born I wanted to be Catholic. If I had to be a religion, anything, I'd be a Jew. I'd rather be a Jew. Um, Honest to God. Um, so I ended up in Montreal, and they advanced me 2.5 years, which put me in a totally disaster situation. My parents should have noted that. Suddenly, I was taking algebra and such, and Latin, for Christ's sakes, Latin. Um, but what really took me, and this is has this little bit of a story, has to do with racism. And I've written this in um, the site that I have, gregtroy.com. The story is there, but with some of these stories, I just provide a little bit, and one day I will put a price tag on it. But this is a story of racism of extreme, and that it could happen. It will happen. I hate to tell you, across Canada. It's one of the most racist countries on the face of the planet. And think how we treated Aboriginals, the natives. It was to obliterate them. It makes us look like shit. Actually, if I was Aboriginal, I don't know. I would be screaming angry at the whole lot of you. It may have been your grandparents, great grandparents did this, but it was done. This is actually my land, my laws, my religion, everything. But this is a different part. in this depleted, this horribly constructed ancient building I was enrolled in. I think the original of the major school was Marymount, and they were doing construction, and consequently, some were kicked out of that school for a time being and put into, I think it was called Coolbrook. It was there were 3 floors, if I recall, and the top floor, the first 2 floors, Français, and the top floor, English speaking. And I have to tell you, it was the most disgusting educational facility. I mean, it's just, what can I say? It's one of those things that throws me against people, and it's why I do not trust people, anyone. I do not. So I was much younger, to younger until I'm was older. I trust no one. In that school, there was it was Français class, and the original teacher had to leave. He disappeared, and who replaced him was another teacher. He was from, this fellow was from Haiti. He was solidly black, and so I liked him. I liked him a lot. But there was a fraction of the school classroom, and it's applicable to the school itself, to everyone. There's so many races around here, including our own freaking country. What they did to that man was just disgusting. There was a group of them. I'm trying to remember his name. I do have his name, but it is in my memory. And maybe one day I'll pop it out, because this kid should have been, it's one of those kids that should be aborted. Honest to God, they are so disgusting. It's like Adolf Hitler should have been aborted. One would have hoped that happened, and 40, 60, 80 million people would have saved their freaking lives. So it happened whenever, after a short period of time, every time that Haitian teacher, French speaking teaching teacher would turn around to write on the chalkboard, they would all start to sing King Wooga Wooga, King Wooga Wooga. They would do that, King Wooga Wooga, King Wooga Wooga. And of course the teacher would look around and they would stop. Then he would turn his back to, he would turn around and address himself to the chalkboard, and they would go King Wooga Wooga, King Wooga Wooga. It's one of many things they did. Some actually got away to write profane notes and pat him on his back. There were many of these things. To me, this put me in a state of, in a way, I was shocked. In a way, this is why I remember it. How people could do that to one another, whether it's a kid to an adult or an adult to a kid. It's disgusting. What I've witnessed here in St. Catharines, well, most of it has become, over the last number of years, this is done closed, it's behind a closed door. How they treat children, how their thoughts of, whomever, negative. They are rather, anyway, it took me by surprise. In the end, and this is so sad, he was so overwhelmed by it, the humiliation, the total humiliation of it. Do I have it properly? Well, there. He was holding his class his book, his textbook, and he closed it. Tears were coming down his eyes, and he left that schoolroom, and never ever returned. Not one time did he come back. That's what those horrible little kids did. Was a crack teacher. Think of it. How disgusting that is. So, and that goes the other way when a teacher does that to students. A whole lot of cruddy little shits live around you, you know. So, I'm gonna end this by saying, and I am no angel. I plan to apologize on my little segment, to apologize to Greg Lillico for the terrible things I did to him when I was a kid, but they weren't to that extent of racism, that kind of ignorance. It's actually not even, it's total ignorance. But I always wish for sometimes that I remember him right now. I have often wondered if I could track him down and hold out my hand to him, shake it, and say I'm very sorry for what they did, because it broke him, and for us to do that says a lot of a percentage, a very high percentage. When you get 74 million people vote for races in the United States, that says a lot. Anyway, I was really just testing this to whether we'll go or not. And I'm going to cut off now. And I'm very, very sorry, dear teacher. I'm very sorry. And now I sign off, and thank you for listening to me.